Yeah. Okay, so I think this is the next matchup. We've done analysis on like the big, large, sweeping things about these teams already. So I'm gonna do this one a little bit rapid fire, right? Um, we're still gonna write on the screen, so I still need to open this up, right? Um, hello, open please. There we go. But we're gonna do this one a little bit faster than the last ones that we've been doing. I just want to look at the matchup, see if there's anything notable that I can see on this. Again, we've seen both of these teams. Um, I okay, so on first impression, right? This is the heat trend that we were talking about earlier. How I really love this team, and how I think it's really well constructed with Sunny Day in particular. Um, it doesn't look like it's gonna. Well, no, it actually will have some pretty legitimate impact, I think here. Mainly, Urshifu is going to come. I don't see a world where Urshifu doesn't show up. Um, I mean, like, I guess you could not bring Urshifu, but I feel like bringing Urshifu is probably a good idea. We see that the speed advantage is going to be with Kiwamu. There is no trick room over here, so there is no way for Shohei to actually outspeed stuff unless this happens to be proto speed in the sun. That could be a difference maker. Um, but for the most part, I think the speed advantage is going to be with Kiwamu. I really expect this Heatran to put in a lot of work. I have a lot of faith in this Heatran set. Specifically with the introduction of Tailwind and Sunny Day, I think this improves the Heatran set's matchup a lot. As a refresher, Sunny Day is mainly here for Flutter and Heatran. God, I can't draw arrows anymore. It's mainly there for Flutter and Heatran. We haven't seen it yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if Heatran actually has some speed investment to be able to take advantage of Tailwind. That's how I liked running my Heatran, and adding Sunny Day does make that more powerful. Other than that, most of the stuff is pretty standard. We do see the Terragrass and the Trempow. I think this is just to avoid redirection from Amoonguss, honestly, on later inspection, which could come into play pretty heavily, I think, with the team that he's running up against. There's a lot of Mons on this side that don't want to take moves from Chien-Pao. Fluttermane doesn't want to eat that. Landorus does not want to eat that. Mungus does not want to eat that pre-Terra. So having this as a way to just completely deny a Mungus redirection and potentially remove a Fluttermane or a Landorus seems pretty powerful. The Urshifu, the difference that we're seeing here, this one has close combat versus this one that has taunt. Taunt we've seen be largely a non-factor today, and honestly, let me erase that and draw a better circle. Honestly, I don't think that's going to change a whole lot in this matchup. Um, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of things that Taunt's really going to hit here. Taunt seems to be mainly for Amoonguss, and I think if I remember correctly, this Taunt Urshifu is run into two Amoonguss-less teams. Um, so I expect that to not really show up in this match. Um, as for other stuff that I expect to make a difference or not make a difference, um, I don't really know. A lot of this is like a pretty standard team matchup. I think most of this comes down to EVs, and that's like one of the only things that we can't see. Um, Lando might actually be a big deal in this matchup. Looking at what Mons that Kiwamu has and what can potentially get hit by specifically Terrafalling Terra Blast. Heatran post Terra, which is probably what you're going to be running if you want to deal with Urshifu well. Um, Rillaboom, Chien-Pao post Terra, Urshifu pre Terra. Fluttermane just gets slammed by this anyway because its defenses are low. So that's 5 of the 6 that it matches up favorably against in one way or another, with Terra Flying Terra Blast as its set. So I think Landorus is probably a key mon for Shohei in terms of finding success here. But other than that, a lot of this is going to come down to spreads. Like I said, hard to really predict a whole lot specifically with this matchup. Um, we've seen a little bit of spreads, but we haven't seen them play against each other, so we don't know how the speed ties are going to work. We don't know anything like that. And honestly, they're running a whole lot of the same stuff. Iron Hands could be a pretty big deal, but it also isn't super happy with eating like a Pixie Plate boosted Terra Fairy Fluttermane Moonblast. I don't think, regardless of what it is, right? And if it does Terra, then it's weak to Terra Blast and Woodhammer, and it's slower than all of them, right? Especially if you factor in speed control. So Iron Hands has potential to be a difference maker, right? Does hit a lot super effectively. It is pretty stalwart defensively, but it's also exploitable. I think Landorus and Iron Hands, their play around specifically those is going to be pretty important for the success of Shohei. Um, I think Amoonguss is honestly not going to have that much of an impact. We have Taunt, we have Terra Grass on two Mons, we have a Grass type natively. Like, I don't think Amoonguss is going to do a whole lot in this matchup. And I think Taunt's probably a dead move slot, but other than that, seems like a pretty evenish matchup. If I had to give the edge to one, I think I'd give it to Kiwami or Kiwamu. I mean, Jesus, Kiwamu. But
Kiwamu versus Endo versus Shohei Kimura, world champion, and we see an interesting matchup here. We've got the Heatran really.
But I like Shohei's team too, and he's proven that he is smart enough to work his way. He's smart enough and he makes reads well enough to work his way out of lots of situations.
Maybe I'm wrong about that, but like it doesn't come to mind. So I'm really curious to see how he approaches playing against.
So I still like Shohei's chances. I do think Kiwamu has the better team in this matchup, though.
Is the Tornadus is able to control a lot of the pace of the game, so it can use Sunny Day to boost Heatran or Fluttermane. It can use Taunt to slow down Amoonguss. And so I think it's really going to be about how both players navigate that sort of central tension.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the Heatran's another thing to look at here, right? Because like to beat it, Shohei has a number of options, but like the Terra Grass.
Did trailer just call that sexual tension?
Like, yeah. I mean, Drain Punch from Iron Hands is definitely valuable for sure, but other than Iron Hands, like I guess the Chien-Pao is also pretty good. It's
all right.
Pretty good against Surging Strikes. Like Heatran's pretty good against Surging Strikes. Urshifu, it's like pretty good against Landorus. Like if they don't Terra, but
so Shohei has one of the best possible tools against Terra Grass Heatran, which is that Landorus, which can, especially a non-choice Landorus, which can either lock into, which can either select Stomping Tantrum, or once Heatran has Terra to Grass, come on in, Terra Blast it, or even just U-turn it, get it out of there. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting, and Kiwamu actually went really quickly for that Tornadus, so in my mind, it seems like he and I got the same sort of ideas. I wish I had the same sort of ideas as that guy. He's a great player.
He really is. Yeah. So it's interesting to see. We're kind of seeing the Pokemon selected here. No, Urshifu, I think makes sense. Like you have the there's not Rocky Helmet Amoonguss, but there is an Amoonguss. You have the Urshifu. You have Terra Water Iron Hands as well. Who like those.
Also, I really like. I'm gonna make this comment quickly on this. I really enjoy how Kiwamu has built their team in terms of the support, physical, and special attackers, right? 2 special attackers, 2 physical attackers, 2 supportive Pokemon. I like that a lot. That's how I like to build my teams most of the time. It doesn't leave you particularly weak to teams that punish one side of the attacking spectrum or another.
The Urshifu on Shohei's side is actually a really nice choice because it has Taunt. I'm not sure. Well, I'm thinking about this from more so like how do you really fit this game plan together given like the grass types. Taunt is a useful tool against some of these other tools, but it's also kind of pressuring, so I get wanting to like leave it back at the beginning, but we're gonna go ahead and get into this game.
I like the little Fanpy.
Oh yeah, Fanpy is awesome.
Yeah.
Great taste.
Great taste. So we're going to see how the battle's starting out here. We see Amoonguss and Fluttermane against Tornadus and Fluttermane. So
Amoonguss Flutter, Tornadus Flutter.
So be very relevant, right?
Yeah.
We did see earlier that Kiwamu doesn't actually have Terra
think that Shohei is
Terra Grass, so it can't ignore the Amoonguss, right? But it could go for Terra and then go for like a Dazzling Gleam or a Moonblast or whatever.
You need to stay alive to be able to taunt that Amoonguss, or just like we saw in the finals, everything is going to take a fat nap.
Absolutely. We're going to see a Protect from the Flutter main here. So
Protect from Flutter.
I wonder what's happening.
Looks like he called it.
Protect from the Amoonguss. So now we see if this Flutter can Oko this Tornadus.
Right? Because something like Shadow Ball.
Oh, no.
Not only locking into Shadow Ball, which is a very strong attack, but also using it against
Gets it off.
To protect correctly there. I feel like Shohei's reads are just so on point. And we do see the Bleak Storm disconnected. Is there going to be a speed drop? Because the damage
Bleak Wind.
so meaningful.
Okay.
No speed drop.
Ooh. So it looks like
Interesting.
Really counting on that. So now it's interesting because, like I was talking about earlier, you get one thing to do with your Tornadus, which cannot protect. So are you going to save Fluttermane from the Amoonguss that's going to switch out this turn, or are you going to attack and try and soften it up?
Yeah, I think this is really tricky, especially because we do not know the speed interaction of the Fluttermanes, right? Like, based on how much HP Kiwamu has, I would assume that Shohei is faster, but I don't know that. And the thing is, if you're running Pixie Plate, you're probably like timid nature. Otherwise, you'd run Booster Energy. So I do think you kind of have to let Tornadus go down here, but it's a great lead from Shohei because the whole point of bringing Tornadus to me is setting up Tailwind. And if you're basically in a position where you can't even really use Tailwind, I don't know. I think that means that you've kind of shut down the Tornadus effectively. So we are going to see the Terra here. Kiwamu forced to Terra.
All right, Terra into the Fluttermane.
In my opinion, it makes a fair amount of sense, right? Like you really can't risk taking a Shadow Ball here, and we're going to get our first glimpse as to the speed stats of these Fluttermanes.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think Kiwamu went for the taunt into the Amoonguss, which I like a lot. You know, taunt making the Amoonguss not do anything is excellent. Shadow Ball from Shohei's Flutter first. Crit, that hurts a lot. Big Moonblast. I like this a lot, especially. Oh my god. I like that a lot because dealing with this Amoonguss has already been dealt with. You don't care about this Amoonguss. You don't care about this Amoonguss right now. So getting rid of the Fluttermane is your number one priority.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's like both like this turn and the last.
And now you're in a position, right? Like, what does Shohei have for priority? If I remember correctly, it is Urshifu and like damage priority, of course. If I remember right, it's Urshifu. It is Qian Pao, and it is actually no, it's not Qian Pao, right? I'm gonna check. I don't want to be wrong here.
But if it had Rage Powdered, it would have been an extra turn of taunt, right?
That's true.
No, it is Qian Pao. So it's Urshifu, Qian Pao, and Iron Hands. Those are the ways that you can use priority to deal with this Flutter. And the thing is that Urshifu gets countered by the potential Sunny Day. Qian Pao gets countered because Sucker Punch is not very effective against the Fluttermane currently, and then while Iron Hands can get countered just by protecting, right? So
a Sunny Day selected, so I'm curious if this must be some kind of prediction, right? Like you must be
really interesting stuff.
Yeah, Urshifu did not go for the Aqua Jet here.
I think that Sunny Day and just Dazzling Gleam is pretty safe. Amoonguss is forced to Pollen Puff this turn, which is going to be kind of tough for it to really do anything, so it's probably going to heal anything off of this.
We also don't know just how bulky Kiwamu's Flutter is.
Yeah, we're going to see a Tailwind here.
So Tailwind.
I mean, this is an investment for future turns. It's not going to do much right now. Urshifu going for the
Aqua Jet. I think this KOs.
Might have been a consideration here, but
yeah, I would have preferred to see Sunny Day.
Not ideal.
Although I guess I'm not even sure if Sunny Day lives.
Tailwind is that it sets up for the Rillaboom, and that's going to be really tough to get out of.
Yeah, this Pollen Puff will not kill.
I feel like the Sunny Day really wasn't respected there, but maybe, honestly, I don't really know my Mystic Water Urshifu calcs. I think it probably KO'd through Sun.
It probably would have KO'd through Sun.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense then.
Yeah.
Kiwamu taking their time here, thinking of what to send it. I mean, the obvious choice. Okay, Rillaboom is kind of an obvious choice, but at the same time, like going into Chen Pao and being able to take out this no protect Amoonguss, like an Amoonguss that can't protect itself from Terra, right? Like it's taunted and it can't Terra. So basically, if the last Pokemon is Urshifu, or if the last Pokemon is Landorus, then like this is a KO as long as it hits, right?
Yeah.
Now Shohei or Kiwamu goes for the Sunny Day to try and protect this.
Nicer than the Rillaboom switch in, and like if you want to
try to protect this Qian Pao.
Of Tornadus being low health, you can Aqua Jet even through a potential Sunny Day. That's it's kind of tricky, right? Like, what if the last Pokemon on Shohei's side is Iron
I actually like this as well because you're delaying your fake out.
It's going to be kind of messy, but the Sunny Day actually going to pay big dividends here. We are going to see the Aqua Jet come out into the Tornadus. That's interesting because to me that implies, that implies that you think that your last Pokemon can be Chen Pao, which means it's certainly not Landorus.
Yeah.
Icicle Crash connects. That's very nice. Love when that happens.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, big knockout. Big knockout.
Yeah, critical hit doesn't
Crit.
matter here.
Don't think it mattered. Icicle Crash is a really strong move.
Looking kinda tough
But yeah, now you delayed your fake out till this turn, whereas if you had brought Rillaboom in, you'd had to use it last turn, and that's not actually useful for you.
Urshifu's final move is taunt, not close combat. So, Chen Pao.
So Chen Pao comes out.
Actually would have loved to see here.
Chen Pao can't Terra.
Into the Urshifu. That way you could Woodhammer and just end the game, probably.
Oh, like from the Tornadus?
Yeah, instead of the Sunny Day, but
that would be
it's probably too risky to be honest.
That would be a pretty neat. Yes, that would be a pretty neat lockup. But actually, I think it's doing a fair amount of work here because you can't.
I feel like fake out Sacred Sword is really obvious.
That's actually, you're very right.
I think you have to go Woodhammer here. I think Woodhammer is subverting expectations, right? Like, fake out can only be used the first turn that you walk in, so everybody thinks you're going to click fake out. Although I guess Shohei, honestly, at this level, it probably doesn't matter that much. Shohei is probably good enough that that's a consideration in his head.
Yeah, it's a really hard
but
here, I think.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Chen Pao protect,
Yeah.
so a great move. Well, let's see if it's double protect. I don't think it will be, though.
I think just to. Oh no! Oh.
Yeah, so a great call there. However, I think that this is still doable.
Woodhammer?
Because there should be one turn of Tailwind left if I've counted correctly, and with
No.
that, taking out the Chen Pao, like Rillaboom will beat Urshifu in a 1v1.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
So the Terra Water's coming out here. So there's a lot of
Liz from the Sunny Day. Without the Sunny Day, that's dead.
Yeah, that's Mystic Water Terra.
Yeah, Mystic Water Terra doing a lot of damage here.
It's doing a ton.
Now, what I'm concerned about is does Aqua Jet Sucker Punch kill?
You're in range of Sucker Punch plus Aqua Jet, surely, right? If you're not in range of just Aqua Jet. So the question is, does Woodhammer plus Sucker Punch, in my opinion, KO the Chen Pao?
Oh, that's gonna be
Woodhammer Sucker Punch should KO this Chen Pao 100 times out of 100.
Oh, but you could go for the double protect as well.
Would you be willing to bet on that KO? Because now you can protect Urshifu, and once you've done that, you're in a much more stable
I think
space.
if Chen Pao goes down, you lose for sure. Oh, interesting. This feels risky to me, but I guess they're reading the double protect here, and also reading that Aqua Jet won't KO.
Oof.
I don't think Aqua Jet alone KOs. I think Aqua Jet plus Sucker KOs.
I think Aqua Jet might kill here.
No way in the sun.
Double protect.
Well, it fails.
Well, let's see if Aqua Jet KOs. Oh,
no, he
doesn't
didn't
go for it.
Yeah, he just went for this.
Wow. Yeah, I think it makes sense. If Aqua Jet doesn't KO,
Alright,
you're
cool.
kind of done for. And if you get the double protect, you win like
that. Was
this.
a really nice play.
Yeah, you also win if they go for my play with Sucker Punch Woodhammer. So I think it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So wow, really well played by Kiwamu. I mean, it's kind of interesting that like there's these two huge attackers on each side, but it feels like the game was revolving around not them, but getting rid of the partners, right? Like just playing to the end game you wanted.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Kiwamu sort of like shirk the fake out and go for the Woodhammer. We see in this case that it would have won, but honestly, at this level, like I said, it's probably a 50-50. It's far closer to a 50-50 at this level than it is at lower levels. Lower levels, that's a very easy read that you can make a lot of the time and end up winning. Higher level, that's a lot harder to justify, I would say. We are seeing, though, Shohei's choice to run Taunt instead of Close Combat basically makes this an entirely unwinnable matchup against the Rillaboom.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it's not.
And this is really similar to like how a lot of teams ended up dealing with Palafin, right? I like making this comparison a lot because it's very similar. You have a water type attacker that can only hit you with water type moves, and you can just if you're running a Grass Terra, you resist everything that they do. If you're running,
really well played by Kiwamu. That looked kind of like it looked kind of dicey in the middle, but
clean
yeah,
KO.
really well played.
If you're running a Water Terror, you resist everything they do, like, and we're seeing that being taken advantage of quite a bit. So I think Taunt is really cool. I also thought this was a big weakness of Palafin, and that's also why I ran CC on my Palafins when I was running Palafin. I would run CC Eject Pack, which I don't think you need the Eject Pack part, but I think having coverage on Palafin is extremely valuable if you're going to run it. I think Urshifu is the same space, right? There's like not having coverage for Urshifu is just so difficult to deal with a lot of the time. And I don't think we have anybody who brought a Gastrodon today, but if they did bring a Gastrodon, it completely invalidates your Urshifu. You can't even afford to like bring it a lot of the time, right?
There's no Terra available.
If you bring the Urshifu
Kiwamu,
and they brought the
then it's gonna
Gastrodon,
be
it's a 3v4.
real tough to get it off the field with that huge HP stat. And maybe, you know, you can even keep Amoonguss around for long enough to just keep
So-
up with Pollen Puff.
I actually do feel like Amoonguss is kind of the crucial.
I'm really a big fan of running coverage on an Urshifu,
Shohei's side.
though a lot of people do not.
4 was really threatening. Like there are some ways of slowing it down, but I mean Urshifu and Chen Pao and Fluttermane all. Wait, Chen Pao didn't even come. Urshifu and Fluttermane both being able to hit, and like Tornadus as well being able to be hit by Spore is like, I think pretty important. And I think that like getting taunted and then just like kind of being stuck sitting there, like we've seen that's a couple like 2 sets in a row where we've seen like Amoonguss when it only has access to Pollen Puff that actually does anything is like pretty like useless a lot of the time, and that's like one of the ways that you can actually like gain an advantage over Amoonguss teams is by disabling it, right? Because the Rillaboom didn't feel useless there at all, but the Amoonguss kind of did, right? It didn't spore anything. It didn't. It just got taunted and then sat there.
Yeah.
And this is another thing that they're specifically talking about, right? That Amoonguss can be played around pretty heavily with like just adding taunt to your team or adding grass tears to your team. And invalidating a Pokemon like Amoonguss, right,
I really like how long
is really great for your team's is a really great thing for your team to be able to do, because every time that you validate an Amoonguss, you are playing a 3v4.
Like, whoa, okay, I know that works.
Yeah.
But Shohei's gonna adapt for that.
So definitely something to worth considering, right? Like, how do you deal with Amoonguss? And if you can put in like a 1-move counter or a 1-Terra counter,
Yeah, I think one of the things I would have liked to see from Shohei on
and like a
Gen 2
hard
was
counter,
just
then
keeping down
you're in a
Tornadus
great
aggresses,
spot.
Because like that way you limit it to one of Taunt, Tailwind, or Sunny Day.
Yes.
Yeah, but we do see an adjustment here. We're leading off with the offensive Pokemon right away, but Heatran is a big adjustment from Kiwamu. Although Heatran with Terra Grass, although it's good like against
I like Heatran. I like Heatran a lot here.
It's like a nice thing to have against the water type of Urshifu. It's not very nice to have against the
Like I said previously, before this match began, I expect Heatran to be a big deal. And while this is like kind of a rough spot, specifically because
really punish Shohei here. He's
because Chen Pao can kill you if you Terra, and Urshifu can kill you if you don't. You know, those are like the eventualities that you're dealing with. But you also let it with a Fake Out Mon, so you can control your eventualities here effectively.
And especially down a game.
Yeah.
Kiwamu has total freedom to do whatever he wants.
Oh, a Terastallization early. This might be
Early Terra.
I was thinking it's the Chen Pao actually.
Really?
This is Chen Pao, Ghost type.
I was looking at the wrong one. I was looking at the Kiwamu's.
I think most of the time in the situation for Kiwamu, though, you fake out the Urshifu because it means that you don't need to bring your Terra. So I'm fine with that if I'm Kiwamu.
Yeah. So this is a super nice play that covers for everything possible from Rillaboom except, you know, for an attack.
Icicle Crash. This probably kills. Does not kill. Okay, yeah. We actually did see this kind of thing happen earlier today, and it killed because it would crit. So this Rillaboom is bulky enough to live.
Shohei is so relieved.
Yeah, really nice turn 1, aggressive play. I mean, it's always scary to make a play like that, in my opinion, because if you get it wrong, like imagine the Chen Pao just goes down, or like, I don't know, like, there's a lot of things that can go wrong there, but by getting it right, you gain a lot of momentum, in my opinion.
Chen Pao is absolutely the most important Pokemon in this matchup for Shohei, and so just getting an extra turn to attack, it's already done 85% of one Pokemon's health. You know, now we want to see it.
Yeah, we're still in a position where Heatran's pretty crazy. I think that, you know, this is moving back through like all of this stuff, right? Talking about all this stuff. Terra Grass, Terra Blast. I like this quite a bit. Can only really get punished from Shohei because again, Shohei does not have close combat. He's just water moves. Can only get punished by Shohei if he goes for the Icicle Crash. Although Shohei's been going for crazy reads all day and they've been paying off, and he is praying now. Yep, he did it. 4 HP.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Let's see.
Wow.
Who did Urshifu target? Because right now, like barring a flinch. Okay.
All right.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
Wow, it does a lot.
But I love this knockoff play from Kiwamu.
Go Heatran. You can live it.
Sorry, Heatran.
Right, Heatran goes down. I think that's really detrimental for Kiwamu. Heatran feels like such a good mon and is so much of Shohei's team. But we're also in a situation where you can remove the Chien-Pao and then still have your Rillaboom on the field. And Kiwamu, I believe, has... Yeah, Kiwamu has the Terra Fairy Flutter Mane, or the Pixie Plate Flutter Mane, which I think it looks good in the end game here. Especially if they ended up bringing Tornadus to drop the Sunny Day down. Could be really helpful. Did I say Shohei? I meant Kiwamu.
The thing about that is that we know that Shohei is faster than Kiwamu, and because of the choice spec, Shadow Ball will pick up a KO. If it were reversed, the play of like Dazzling Gleam, Woodhammer would be really nice, or like there's a couple of options that would be available, but without it,
all right, we see a Flutter, and what do we see on this side?
Well, we've seen it. They moved
Flutter.
once.
Okay. So I definitely would have liked to see a Tornadus here. Tornadus coming in, like we know that this Flutter Mane is specs. If you expect Flutter Mane to come in here and you have Tornadus in the back, you can bring in the Tornadus, go for a Tailwind, and then use your Rillaboom to Woodhammer and KO the Flutter.
I mean, like it's risky, but like, what is the Flutter Mane?
So that's what I would have liked to see if they have it in the back. I don't remember what they have in the back, so may not be a thing. And that also sets up your Flutter Mane for having speed control for the rest of the game. So
you have to have Surging
Yeah.
Strikes and Shadow Ball.
Yeah.
Which would work, yeah. Well, that's pretty...
Yeah, it's probably
pretty
too
tough.
risky.
I'm not really sure how Kiwamu can come out of this endgame on top.
Yeah.
I think you died of this. 5 HP. Oh my god. Did they double? They didn't double. There goes Ursh.
Holy cow!
That's crazy.
So now we see
I guess I would suspect that with Pixie Plate it doesn't matter.
now we
but I
see
don't
probably
think-
Woodhammer.
How much bulk
Yep.
is that?
I think a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to
Nuked.
be able to survive Choice Spec
Wow.
Shadow Ball. That's pretty ridiculous.
That's insane.
Wait, all of a sudden Kiwamu, who I thought it was kind of over, is suddenly in a really good position.
Okay, so
We're seeing the value get
if
into
you
stuff,
know,
like, a lot of players will
if
go,
you
they
know
look
that
at
your
this
Flutter
Flutter
will
Mane,
live a Shadow
so
Ball,
the thing
right?
is, like, the way the Flutter Mane
Then this play I
plays
think is
has
actually
been
better than the
so
play that I
low.
suggested earlier.
Being Iron Hands here, Pixie Plate Flutter Mane's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty rough. And
I think you knock off Moonblast here.
for Kiwamu.
Knockoff
play
Protect
not wanting
actually
to
might be
miss.
really sick.
That's mean.
Knockoff Protect to make sure that your Moonblast, your one Moonblast that you're gonna get,
Yeah, no, it does.
If it
Um,
was like Moonblast plus Woodhammer, get like then
kills.
you die to recoil, take the KO, and then you could lose on a miss.
No, there's no way.
But with this,
Oh, yeah.
never mind.
All right.
Oh wait, hang on.
Really
Oh,
just-
yeah.
I would like to see knockoff. I really think knocking off this AV and making it do more damage is really important. But
Really just fucking it up a million ways.
having the fake out is also really helpful. So I guess I can't judge too hard.
Fake out. Oh no,
Drain
drain
punch.
punch. Oh, hang
Wow.
on. I mean, it's a 1 against 3, but the one, like all
Dude.
3 of the one are low HP.
This is nuts. How do you call something like that?
Yeah, that's
like,
pretty wild. Man, they're all so low. Man, if only it had Rock Slide.
If only there was some G-Max Volcolith on the field.
Dude. Okay, here comes Rillaboom switching in here. Icicle Crash can miss. It does not. This is going to do a fair bit of damage, probably 40%. Looks like it.
And it's a wild charge.
Actually, picking up the KO on the Fluttermane,
So-
Fluttermane slot.
What's kind of nice here is that...
Yeah, I definitely would have liked to see the knockoff, right? I think knockoff Protect was your best choice because if they Drain Punch into that slot, as they did, right, you lose your Rilla, but you remove their Assault Vest. Then you are able to knock or like
I could be wrong.
probably kill with the Fluttermane plus Chien-Pao double up.
Yeah, for sure.
Sacred Sword, there's the Moonblast. Let's see here. Sacred Sword comes out. That's a lot of
that's a lot of
damage.
damage.
Yeah, this Moonblast absolutely kills.
Really well played by
That was
Kiwamu.
very, really
Yeah.
nice.
It didn't end up mattering, but I think the knockoff actually would have been pretty pop, pretty
That was a great match.
I mean, the
pretty
really
good.
turn there is the Fluttermane survival.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah. Without that, I think that Iron Hands is probably clean enough, but
I didn't know it could do that.
I didn't know it could do that either. That
So-
sounds like something for special defense boosting booster energy Fluttermane to me.
I don't know anyone who loves that set.
No, neither do I.
Did you guys talk about it earlier on the broadcast or something?
Oh, I mentioned it offhand. But
Oh,
I
okay,
didn't mention
okay,
that you
great.
liked
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No, I think it's a great set. So I think for that survive to happen, first off, Kiwamu's Fluttermane.
But that survival was insane. That survival, like
so many
literally,
vitamins that morning. like way more.
Oh
than
my
one a
god.
day,
If that
so
survival
yes,
didn't
that's its
happen,
own
the game's
challenge.
over.
And then the other thing is that Shohei's Fluttermane must also be very, very low in the special attacking department. And
Right, it was probably a
that's-
combination.
One of the issues with being a little faster is, you know, you might miss out on a KO like that, which I didn't know it was possible to miss out on.
I think that the thing about Fluttermane is that yes, it's extraordinarily powerful, but you have to choose. It's like the
Yeah, Fluttermane,
social, like,
they're sort of talking about this
skill
right now, but
thing where
Fluttermane
you
has
can
trade-offs.
screw, and then the third one misses. Like you can have speed, you can have power, you can have both.
Fluttermane,
Both
because
you
it's
lose
so
power, but
frail on
it
the physical side,
compensates
like you
for it,
have to
sure.
bulk it out if you want it to live
Not
anything.
fully.
But
Actually,
then you're
take
not as
out your
fast and as
for
powerful as you
Urshifu
want to be, and vice versa, and vice versa, and vice versa. So,
for the interview, but,
Fluttermane's a very interesting Pokemon in the ways that you can build it, right? Like if you don't care about bulk at all, then just like
600 grams of pasta for you.
blow it
That's
up.
good, yeah.
You know, blow them up with a high speed, high special attack. You know, but if you do care about that, then you can't do that anymore, and then you have a lot more problems.